A couple of weeks ago, I put out a LinkedIn post in which I said, Cape Town is having a moment. And the reason I said that was because there's been 2.5 billion rands worth of international investment flowing into our property market in just 5 months. When I put up that post, there was a comment in my LinkedIn asking me by Zaki Ahmed, why did I think we were seeing such extraordinary activity? And then asking me how I foresaw the market going over the next 12 to 24 months. It's also interesting because international property purchasing is quite a hot topic in South Africa at the moment. Every time I post something about international purchasing, parallel to that, I'm getting commentary asking me how do I feel about international purchases pushing up the prices. And I think that this is a topic that needs to be well understood. Nobody buys a property to lose money. It is an investment class like any other property or any other investment class for that matter, And when you're buying your property, you want to see a return that is inflation beating. And property, specifically along the Atlantic Seaboard and Seaboard, is exactly that. And with everybody scurrying for properties along the Atlantic Seaboard and Seaboard, where you have limited opportunities to purchase, parallel to that, you're going to see price increases. So one shouldn't feel threatened by international purchases, and I'll tell you why. Because yes, on the Atlantic Seaboard and Seaboard, which is highly desirable, you see a substantial percentage of our purchases being international foreign purchases. However, when you look at it across South Africa, you will see that it is a very small percentage that are actually buying property. And there are areas, like much to my fascination, and I'm not a Joburg property expert, but I look at Parkhurst as example, where you can be buying a magnificent house in Parkhurst with a swimming pool renovated, ready to be moving in for 2.5 million. That's well below where you could have been paying for a property, say, 4 or 5 years ago. So it isn't as if international purchasing is lifting the entire market, but you do want that segment of the market to be having freedom to be able to come in here and purchase property, which on a global standard is obviously much cheaper and much better value for money. We just recently have seen record sales across the board. Us personally, we've just set a record sale for the most expensive house ever sold in Sea Point. Equally, we've seen the most expensive rate per square meter achieved in the waterfront marina, which by the way was set by a local purchaser. And that bodes well for the general market and helping people to grow their wealth by pushing up property values. So in this country, what we don't need is limiting opportunities for growth. Our focus as a country needs to be on two things. And this is something that Samuel Seeff has been pushing heavily for, is greater interest rate cuts. And why does he push for greater interest rate cuts? Because like me, he's focused on two core elements of the South African economy, which is growth and job creation. And that growth needs to be in the mid-single digits. At the moment, we barely cracking 1.5% of growth. And that hurts us as a country. And so I think everything we do moving forward has to be asked back to two questions. Does this grow our economy? And does this grow jobs, which are greatly needed in our country at the moment? Now, interest rates are at an interesting point in that currently interest rates have been rising and now are dropping, albeit much slower than both I and Samuel Seeff would like to be seeing. And I think for that matter, a lot of the world, even the Fed, is actually not lowering interest rates in line with what their president thinks they should be. And it doesn't suit us as a country to have high interest rates because our interest rates are not directly linked to consumerism inflation. So raising our interest rates do not have a direct impact in halting inflation. What they do and what they achieve very successfully is hampering growth and hampering jobs. But now we are seeing interest rates, and we work very closely with Uber, who shop your interest rates around across a variety of different banks, we are seeing interest rates that are coming back at above 2% below prime. So this means that with the current prime rate being at 10.75, you are able to achieve an interest rate of about 8.75 in reality when shopping it around and looking for the best deal possible. Now, I am a little bit biased in that we are not a very big bond market in the areas of the Atlantic Seaboard and Seaboard. The majority of our buyers are cash. And in fairness, those who do take a bond tend to be low risk. But at an interest rate of 8.75, we have not seen a level like that since 2020 and the COVID time. So this is a great opportunity for people to be having access to cash and to be able to utilize that cash to obviously leverage and buy property as what is showing to be a great investment. Now to come to that question of where do I see property going over 12 to 24 months? Well, I wish I had a crystal ball. I wish I could answer that question. If I could tell you exactly what I thought the answer to that question would be, I would be sitting on a mega yacht in the south of France right now. But what I can tell you is that I sit at the coalface of the property market. And by sitting at the coalface of the property market, I can see trends before the broader market or the broader population are able to see. I can track data such as how many inquiries we're getting. We can see the demand. We can see up to about 3 to 4 months into the future of what we can expect the market to be doing. And as a company, we're obviously planning accordingly. And there are certain fundamentals that are happening. We are definitely getting a lot more inquiries than we are sitting with stock on our books. And if you ask any estate agent at the moment, they're all going to come back to you and say that they don't have enough stock. But there's a bit of a misconception with the lack of stock. You can't just say that there's no stock and hence this is slowing down the property market. What is in fact happening is that there is stock to sell, but where maybe 12 to 24 months ago, you were taking 6 to 9 months to sell a property, in the current market, we are achieving sales prior to listing or even without listing. In fact, over the last 2 months, 50% of our deals that we have concluded have either never been on the market or have not hit the market. And those that do are selling in record time. So what this means for us in the property market is that we constantly have to work to replace the stock. And we are seeing that the turnover, and last month being May is a great example, where across Atlantic Seaboard and Seaboard we saw 1.1 billion rand traded. Typically that's about 600-700 million. So there is plenty of business and opportunities still available out in the marketplace for the agent that is able to go out there and get the stock. And what we are finding when we do get the stock is that we are achieving prices that are both surprising even the seller and us. And this points to a rising market where property prices are increasing after actually about 5 years of pretty flat growth. So are we sitting on a bubble? I'm not quite sure. Would I caution sellers to not go wild with their prices? Yes. But if you are sitting with a unique property that is appealing to a unique and able buyer, you will find a situation where you could be pleasantly surprised by the price that we are able to achieve. So for us, it's a very exciting market. We are going to close this month of June as our biggest, or actually our second biggest month ever, but certainly our biggest month ever in the rainy season and in the height of winter, which goes to show that there's a changing trend. Buyers are not just here in summer coming to shop and buy, and buyers are not, and this is also an interesting trend, not just looking for property homes, but are asking questions about immigration and schools and coming to actually make Cape Town home. So to come back to my prediction for the future of property, in Cape Town, City Bowl and Atlantic Seaboard, because when people ask me what do I think of property in South Africa, I always say to them, are you asking me about South Africa or are you asking me about the Atlantic Seaboard and City Bowl? Because they're very different things. I remain very bullish. This year we are 40% up year on year, with last year having been the best year we have ever experienced. And that's extraordinary growth that we continue to see. And so, yes, there are unknowns. What will happen with tariffs? What will happen with wars? What will happen with all kinds of global situations that are totally unpredictable and out of our control. But we have gone through these over the last couple of years. When you stop and consider the water crisis, COVID, inflationary pressures, and everything that we have faced over the last 4 or 5 years, there's an asset class that has been resilient through it all, and that is property on the Atlantic Seaboard and City Bowl. Why? Because people want to live here. And I can tell you that as someone who lives in the area, I love the product that we get to sell, and I understand why everybody wants to live here on this little slice where there's a mountain, an ocean, and wind and traffic. So, in short, 100% positive for the future.